It's honestly
I want to hear
interesting.
his full thought. I don't want to interrupt him too much, and
Yeah.
obviously I want to like hear it out because I'm completely on the camp where it's like, nah, bro, you're 100% wrong. Like you're wilding, bro. You're wild. And I'm trying to give him. I don't know if it's the benefit of the doubt. Oh, we're live. Oh, we're back, guys. So apparently, in the YouTube terms of service, is there's a for when it comes to fair use of someone else's content, there's a limit of what we can use uninterrupted. Meaning, we basically didn't like pause it enough to have reactions to make it a reaction segment. It was basically like a sit and watch kind of thing, which is like we were explaining or talking about while we were waiting for Ian to get us back up alive. It's kind of hard. I personally didn't want to react too much because since I'm on the camp of like this is like Ron's a no go area, I wanted to at least hear him out as best and as much as I could. So that's kind of why I didn't pause it as much as I usually do in our reactions because I don't want to speak for Dr. John, but I wanted to like actually like hear him out and like understand this perspective because I don't understand this. So Ian said, I think part of the problem was the video was on screen the whole 30 minutes. So if I took it off screen while y'all talked, I think it could have been fine. That's also valid too. That's probably a good point. That's something next time we get better about this terms of fair
I see
use
what you're
stuff.
saying because we were watching like a video.
Well, it wasn't a problem
We were
last
basically
time though.
restreaming a video.
But we did that with that one video. What was that? What was it called? What was the show called where they switched the races, the black family to white and the white to black family?
I don't think we did the whole thing. Maybe we just didn't get caught.
We did a long, like it was like 30 minutes of it. We did the whole episode.
I guess we just didn't get caught.
Oh, some channels have it enabled. Oh, okay, so it's just a feature that has to be enabled. Okay, that makes sense.
Damn.
Okay, well, I think we watched enough, so let's get to quick reactions. So, based off what y'all heard,
What we don't
yeah.
heard.
Well, okay, here let me actually start the conversation this way. So the last time we talked about something that was centered around pedophilia was when they tried to introduce the new term MAPS, minor attracted person. And I remember in that conversation, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Doc, you said that maybe there's some room to accept this term because what if there's a person who has the attraction but hasn't actually enacted on that attraction? You said you'd be more comfortable using the word map for them instead of a pedophile because they haven't like acted on that attraction.
Yeah.
So, so I guess to start the conversation there, like now that you've watched this person who's stated that they're a pedophile but they haven't acted on it, do you still feel the same way, or do you think nah, it's or no?
I still do, but I do think the difference is that this person self-identifies as that. Like
As a
they're the ones
pedophile,
calling they're calling themselves a pedophile. I don't remember actually if you said that in the video, but I feel like
the statement did leave his mouth. I don't know if he's saying that for obviously showmanship value of it. Like they could have had the writers come and say, "Don't say map because it doesn't hit as hard. We want you to say pedophile."
yeah. But I also thought of it more of a like a diagnostic term where you're using it like okay this person has it but they haven't committed an act that's obviously a crime, and so they're not technically a pedophile yet, but like this guy's just like no I'm a pedophilic, like this is what I'm doing, so
Ethan said, "Smile real quick, John. He can't see you."
but that's why I'm saying like with him like he kind of seems to accept the term on his own, and so I mean if that's what he wants to call himself like that, yeah, that's fine. um but it's also like for them or for this person, like I do agree with his statement that like a lot of people that are I guess pedophiles for lack of a better term, they're afraid to seek help before they've ever done something criminal because the
Yeah, I
stigma
remember you
for it.
making that point last time we talked about this.
And like he even said it himself, and so it's just like in the context of like I'm not saying like oh they raped 3 children, let's obviously call them maps. It's like no, like they're pedophiles. But it's just like if they haven't done anything, they kind of are freaking out and they want to save themselves from themselves, then why not give them a softer term to allow them to actually bring themselves towards the light as opposed to just fucking petting it up and then doing something criminal.
That's valid, but my problem is as clearly as this guy have stated, it's a slippery slope. Even though he feels this way, he still has no problem being around kids. And I really like the question that guy was answering, because what he's trying to get to is, even though you have this attraction towards them, you're not actively trying to stay away from them. You were around kids because you wanted to be around kids you found attractive, because you want, even though you may not have pursued it, the potentiality is still there though. And it were good that you didn't. But what if you found a kid that gave you attention, and then another, let's say, depending on how young those kids were, some kids apparently, like, he was 11-year-old and he felt gay. What if there's an 11-year-old kid that felt gay and found comfort with him? Like, it's a slippery slope. Why put yourself in those situations? I think that's the problem. Is once we start giving them room, pedophiles room. I just think it's a slippery slope. There's a reason why we stigmatize it. There's no room for it. I'm sorry, like, and
Well,
I understand. Like,
I mean, he does. I do think that he doesn't have a strong defense to that. I genuinely think he indulged himself in that situation. Um, but I don't think we should try him for something he hasn't done yet. You know what I mean?
fair. Yeah, that's why it's like you're very right. It's just very difficult to navigate, because the problem is he may have to. He did technically try something. The problem, though, legally speaking, what he tried is not something we can legally or justify. Like, we can't legally prosecute it, and we can't justifiably, rationally, like, react to it, because all he did was just, I don't, was it volunteer, or was it a job? I don't remember specifically, but whatever
Sure.
he did, he volunteered to be around children, even though he has these these attractive pedophilic tendencies.
But like, I mean,
Like, bro,
it
like,
but like, what are you kind of insinuating that like because of his potential we should persecute him?
no, I'm not saying that at all. That's why I'm saying it's difficult. Me personally, if I'm a parent, I guess we could ask John this question, because I understand John's probably doesn't want to talk about this. I can tell in his body, like, he's like, I know this is a
You can't ask me nothing about this question.
no,
I'm
because
like,
well, I was gonna say I would.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I was gonna say, like, if I was a parent, and I was like, well, I'm not a parent, so let me ask John, since you are a parent. I would,
You
if
don't
I know.
relate to this question, is what I'm telling you.
Oh, then I'll just say the assumption is, if I have a kid, I just don't want my kid around pedophiles. If people have attraction towards kids, I wouldn't want my kids around those people. That's all. That's kind of this. I'm not saying we should persecute them or anything like that, because obviously, like, how do you do that? It's a thought crime at the end of the day, and you can't do that. I just disclosure, I
I
guess.
wouldn't
I
let,
wouldn't want. No,
I wouldn't
like, it's
let,
difficult.
I wouldn't let, I wouldn't let, I mean, if you know, obviously, if it's a niece or if it's a nephew, it's whatever it is, whatever the relationship is, I wouldn't let that person near anybody in my family. I wouldn't let a pedophile near my mom.
See, that's what I'm
Like,
talking. That's
I
what I'm
wouldn't
trying to
let a
talk about.
pedophile,
That's why I was asking you that question.
but I think his level of delusion hasn't reached the tipping point yet. And so I think his self-awareness will eventually lead to, like, he's aware he self-identifies or whatever he identifies as, but I think he's using logic to a point where he's gonna eventually find logic that's good enough for him to accept to make that next step. And I just don't think he's done that yet. Because you see he's making little jabs, he's making little steps um towards it, but he hasn't actively acted on it. But most of those things happen in steps. Most of those things happen in increments. So like for example with serial killers, they normally like fake not fake, they normally abort their first kill attempt or whatever it is. So
I think Ian's reading the comments. Do you want us to react to this comments, Ian, or are you just, like, investigating?
I think he's just investigating. I do understand. I like that comment on the top where it's just like honestly, listen to him just so you know how to like defend. Like um,
Yeah, his honesty is very informative. We need to pay attention to what he says and protect our children.
yeah, because it is more spontaneous than anything. It's not like a if that's true that it's like a spontaneous thing that comes about. Um, then it's less likely to have like he's chasing a predator, like he's skulking in the shadows, and it's less likely for that to be the situation. Where it's more likely like you just don't know has pedophilia in them and they're just kind of around. At that point, like you would hope that institutions, when they hire people to be around kids, screen them well enough to be like, okay, well, this person has potential for pedophilia
How do you
or
screen
something
that?
like
Because
that.
obviously this guy has done very good job about keeping his tendencies, a secret. Like, how do you screen for that? Like, it's
I mean,
difficult.
I'm not the psychologist that is leading
That's fair.
the studies on how to spot it. So I would assume, or I would hope, they have created questions and stuff like that that people can use to measure it. I remember one time I volunteered to work with kids, and they
Yeah.
screened me, and I didn't actually pass the screening. I didn't have enough empathy. That's what they told me. So I was
And
like, oh,
he does. I mean, depending on if
I
he
don't, I don't
did
know
go
what his
through
answers
screening, yeah,
were.
or
Yeah,
if he even went through screening, but yeah,
yeah.
it's
The so my girlfriend passed the screening and I didn't. Um, she was the one who brought me to volunteer because I think she had done it like the year before or something like that. And when I did the test, yeah, that's what they told me, that I didn't have enough empathy because the kids were like the kids that came from broken homes and stuff like that, and so they had like troubled lives and stuff like that. And I I think I told on all my answers like not get over it, but like use it and like be better. And that was like the wrong answer from what the guy
That's the
told me.
right answer. They wanted you to
I
make victims. They
I
wanted
want
you
to
to make victims.
The-
They
they
wanted you to make
yeah,
victims
100%.
because
yeah
how do they
the
know? How do they know based on who's volunteering? Another thing that they should probably look into is the background of the person that's volunteering. How do they know that person didn't have a tough life and persevered and made it out? I'm not saying you shouldn't have any empathy, but
yeah
a
That's
better
not should be the
volunteer would
main
be an
focus.
example. A
yeah
better volunteer would be an example of how you make it out of those situations or the possibility of your future in those situations.
that's what I
Not
thought too, man.
somebody who's
Yeah.
never been through it and just wants to hug and kiss them
That
like
the
this guy.
answer from what my girlfriend told me was that you need to hold the kid in that emotional state instead of just being like, hey, this happened, but I know you can like get over it and like just kind of use it as fuel to get out of like the ghetto or whatever. Like instead of like teaching them ways to just kind of cut it off of them, she was saying that you have to hold the kid in that emotional state again for an extended period of time, so they finally just kind of let it squeeze out of them like a sponge. And that's why they said I didn't have enough empathy, because I was trying to cut it out of them.
That's a different topic. I'm on your side on this one, Doc. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
you
right.
treat great situations
It's
with
yeah.
empathy. But let's get
All
away
that
from this.
empathy, all that empathy is cool and all, but when the real world hits you, my boy, look, you're gonna regret not knowing how real the world could get.
The world's not
Like
empathetic. The
world's
literally
not
real life in the world is not empathetic. That's why this focus on
empathetic.
empathy makes no sense to me. It's delusional. But that's again, I don't want to get
Watching
on this
empathy,
empathy topic.
watching empathy in the real world actually makes me emotional. Not like crying, but seeing people in the world do good things for each other is like it hits you, and it shouldn't because it should be an everyday thing.
It
But
should be an
it
everyday thing.
literally
Not though.
no,
All right, let's move on
no.
from
Okay.
this. We had some
Talk about
fun
another gay
getting,
guy.
and then yeah. Well, we allegedly we don't know.
Come on, man.
We're
If
about to
I knew
get
this
y'all.
topic was gonna be a topic, I would have vetoed it immediately.
So we have this topic. So apparently, Tucker Carlson decided to interview somebody who claims to be a old lover, I guess, of
Picture of the
Obama,
guy, please.
Barack Obama. There's a video. Is it playing you, or did you
I've
close the
seen it.
video out?
I've seen it.
That's right there. That's the
Yeah,
guy.
him.
Yeah, him. Let me read this real quick. And the reason why I did this particular article is because I'm not going to take this guy's word. He makes some wild claims, and there was no solid evidence to prove they're true. So that's why obviously the title is also question mark, because obviously this is making the rounds because it's fucking hilarious. So Musk slams Tucker Carlson interview with fraudster who claims he had sex with Barack Obama. The reason why they call him fraudster is because this guy is potentially known to do, I forgot the specifics, maybe I'll get into in the article, of his fraudulent past. Like he said some false things before. So that's why it's like, take this with a grain of salt. Either
Oh,
so let's read this real quick and then we'll react. Ex-owner Elon Musk called out Tucker Carlson for not providing objective audience and allowing a convicted fraudster to claim he had sex with Barack Obama on the tech mogul's social media platform. Carlson, who's been airing his show on X, interviewed frequent Obama basher Larry Sinclair for an episode that was posted on Wednesday. During the nearly 42-minute segment, Sinclair claimed to have had a night of crack cocaine-fueled sex with Barack Obama, and then Obama came back for more the next day. Assess for yourselves, Carlson captioned the video, which has amassed nearly 14 million views as of
And in a
Thursday.
sense, looks like asses.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I almost
Asses for
slipped up.
yourself.
Yeah, I almost slipped up. I'm
What's
not even gonna
this
lie to you.
shit?
I said that exact phrase in my mind. I was like, no, that's a cess. That is a cess, King. Focused. Uh, of course, the probability that his claims are true would have to rest on objective evidence rather than claims made by someone with a dubious history, Musk tweeted on the site formerly known as Twitter shortly after it aired. Representatives for X and Carlson at this talent agency, MN2S, did not immediately respond to the post's request for comment. Sinclair, who was 61, repeated the debunked claim he first made 15 years ago that he didn't know who Obama was when allegedly meeting the little-known Illinois state senator in 1999. I was in Chicago looking for a party. I gave Barack $250 to pay for coke and start putting a line on a CD tray and just snort, he recalled. It was definitely not Barack's first time, Sinclair added in response to Carlson's question for where the intercourse was transactional. We don't need to get more into that. Basically, John said he's seen it. I don't know, Doc, if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it. Like,
I haven't watched the full thing. I've only seen
I've seen a
enough
short
because
clip.
I've seen short clips because I just don't care. I guess let's get y'all's opinions. Do you one care? Two, do you actually think Obama's gay or not? I'll go.
No, I
I'll go
don't
for.
care. One, I don't care. Two, I don't think he's gay. Three, if I was wrong, I still wouldn't care. Four, Tucker Carlson is actually tripping for doing this interview with this guy. Five, didn't niggas say that they couldn't get Trump's dick out of CNN's mouth? Why is Obama's dick so far down this nigga's throat? He need to be investigated then. This nigga ain't been president for a whole this is 2 terms. This is 2 terms later.
This is 3
We've
terms
seen
later.
2 other
Oh, you're right.
individuals.
No, you're right.
We've
This is 2
seen
terms
2
later.
other
You're right.
individuals be president. This nigga's still talking about Obama. So I don't want to hear none of that shit when it comes to And you know me, if Trump could run, I'll use my first vote on him. I will use my first vote on him at this point. But this right here, this is just this to me. Tucker Carlson was cool before, but when you do stuff like this, everything else you've done, everything you're gonna do for me, I'm not interested in your credibility anymore because now
Petty. It's
I
a
can
little
just
too.
get
It comes across petty.
well, I think
yeah,
he's
like
I think he's shock jocking. Point.
yes.
That's also valid too. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything what John said. I don't care. Even if he is, I don't care. Why are you, Tucker Carlson, even entertaining this? Like at this point it's a smear campaign. Like, and I
Should have said
don't
Hunter Biden.
care.
He should have used Hunter Biden.
The Hunter Biden
The
stuff
Pope was
makes more
already there.
well, the Hunter Biden stuff makes more sense because it's deeper into it because the allegations is potentially business dealings with Biden through Hunter with Biden and foreign affairs and stuff like that. Like that's different. That's for me different. This though is like there's nothing like it. It's just a man and what he fancies in his private life. Like I'm like, bro, who cares? Why is this
That's a known
important for
liar.
me to? And if
You're listening to a known liar.
like at most all you're going to do is prove Obama's gay in 2023, who cares? Or if anything you're going to prove you're going to try to claim he's a liar who's not in the political sphere. Like who
Oh,
this I don't
boom.
understand what the goal is here.
Did you see the video I sent you earlier today of the guy who lied and said he oh, there was a guy who a transsexual guy who said he who had sex with Blueface, the rapper, and he posted a video like laying on some black guy's body or whatever it was. Then came out and
Oh,
said, then came out after and said, "Yeah, I lied, but I don't call it a lie. I was just entertaining you guys. Wasn't your jaw just dropped or whatever the fuck he said in the video?" So I'm gonna be honest with you.
this is that the same thing, same energy.
Obama was not really the most gay friendly president as far as what he was passing, if you will. So I don't know. This just seems like a shot from a gay guy. If I'm being real honest with you, it just seems like a gay guy want to say somebody's gay, and then it's somebody powerful. They want attention. They want this. They want that. I just think there's some gay shit going on. If I'm being real with you, like
Is
top
the
to
guy
bottom,
actually gay? The one who
he has to be right.
I'm about to say it has to be, and I'm being judgmental here. Forgive me, God forgive me, but he also
Picture.
sounds gay.
Look at the picture.
look at the picture.
Well, you can probably play a
It's
little
not
bit.
a gay old white guy.
Is there a video up, or is that just a
There's a
picture? There's
chance.
a. From
I
my
just think
leaks,
it's
there's a
really
video
fucking
on
weird
top.
that this guy's over here talking about how
Don't
he
worry about it.
got it on with Obama back in the '90s, and then Tucker Carlson's like, "Tell me more."
Yeah,
Continue.
it's weird. It's very,
Like, what the
it's very
fuck?
weird. Like, the reason why I brought this up because obviously it amassed 14 million views and it went crazy on the internet. Like, I think
Serious.
hashtag Obama's gay or something like that went crazy viral. But it's like, why do we care?
This nigga never gonna respond. Obama's never gonna respond because he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to.
Yeah,
I'm telling you the
he
truth.
really doesn't have to. This actually, I won't go as far as say ruin Tucker Carlson, but at least it puts, like, I agree with John, like a sour taste in my mouth. Like, it does. I think it's a strong statement to say it ruined his credibility, but at the very least, it just put a very bad taste in my mouth because it's like, bro, why? This is dumb. Like John said, it's the same energy as the whole Trump P tape thing. It's like, what are we doing? Who cares? Like, what are we doing?
Yo, would you freak out if Obama tweeted out a picture
He should
line
tweet
coke
out
on
some kiss emojis. Obama should tweet out some kiss emojis and a rainbow flag.
He'd get so much support. Man could run for dictatorship. I say dictatorship because he can't.
You get him back in the office, like.
Oh, this guy for sure want a dictatorship.
I
100%.
yeah, I didn't bring it up because I thought Obama was gay. I don't. It was not brought up because I can't believe this is something that is true. I think Tucker
He said
Carlson he
Obama.
identifies as conservative, right? So it would be fair to say
Yeah.
it's wild to me that the conservative side is trying so hard to make this into an issue. This is dumb. This is really dumb.
Are they actually spinning it
You
into
gonna
an
say
issue?
Obama fucking for $200, $250 for some coke and some coke?
Even if he does, who cares? I'm sure Obama's tried coke. Who like
I don't think
they gotta
Obama's a cheap whore. That's what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
know. I don't care. People have done stuff and
I think
tried
that's an
stuff and
expensive
experimented with
bitch.
stuff. I just don't see why that's an issue. It's an issue if he's still doing it, I guess, if he has a problem like Hunter Biden, for example. He's probably the one that was in the White House with cocaine. Maybe, allegedly, we don't know. I'm willing to bet money that he was probably the suspect,
Dude,
the
all I can
culprit.
see is the Obama gif of him just like. Oh man.
Yeah,
Wait.
What? Did you read something
How old is
crazy?
Obama?
How
Obama?
old?
He's got to be in his like 60s now, doesn't he? I mean, he got into office when he was really young. He was like late 30s, I
40?
think.
No, he was
Like
40.
late 30s, 40?
He was in his
Oh yeah.
40s.
Okay.
He was in his 40s?
Here, I'll look
So
it
you're
up real
telling me
quick.
15 years ago, how old would he have been?
Yeah, he's probably like 55 now or something.
Obama is. It's not gonna tell me his age. Okay, 62. Boom.
Damn.
Obama's
So
62.
23 years ago, he was 40 or 39-ish. He gave Barack Obama at 39 $250 to pay for coke. Did he put a date on this? Because I'm
No,
seeing 15 years ago, unless I'm misreading it.
no, I think
No,
he could have been younger than that. He'd been like
he
in his
debunked his
30s.
claim he first made 15 years ago. He's talking about the claim he made 15 years ago.
Shoot, with his insurance policy.
Yeah.
Wait, so he's claiming that he hooked up with him in
Yeah, it's dated
1999.
down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
It
right,
says
yeah.
Sinclair repeated the debunked. So now what repeated the debunked claim he first made 15 years ago. So 15 years ago he made a claim similar to being with Obama 15 years ago that was debunked then. I don't know what the debunking specifically was, like with the proof that came out, but my sentiment is right there with John. I repeat it. Who cares? If it's true, who cares? If it's not true, again, who cares?
What do you think was on the CD, man? Who do you think his music was?
It had to be him. Jimmy.
Queen. It was Queen.
It was
Hmm.
Queen. Yeah, it was Queen.
Nah.
That was a good
1999.
one, right?
1999. Who would it have been?
This is actually crazy.
All right.
Creed.
I don't know what I'll share about this. I just want to bring it up because I want to touch on something slightly political, but not because a lot of political news came out in this past couple of weeks. I didn't want to like bombard us with like two political things back to back that was heavy political. So I was like, yeah, let's get a taste with this, and then next week I'll bring the political discussions. Because it's not political, but unfortunately it is just because it was a Tucker Carlson interview and he deals in politics, which is why again, like, why did Tucker Carlson touch this? Like, you deal with political stuff. Like,
Is
how
he
is
still
this?
doing that though? He's independent now, right?
He's independent. He works for, I don't say he works for Twitter, but his new thing is Tucker Carlson on X.
Yeah. Damn.
So
I think this was a clout farm.
Is he on X? Because the nigga up right now, boy. That nigga tripping. That nigga got all the power. This is what niggas don't understand too. You don't know it all. You not that interesting either, my boy. I'm not saying I'm interested. I'm saying people get their heads big on these big platforms. Tucker Carlson thought he could interview whatever topic he wanted to do, and people, yes, he got the views, but he's not gonna like what comes after this. Like,
yeah,
you need a team, bro. All of that, just picking random people and doing, oh, I like this.
I hope he has a team, and this
He
was a
really
situation where he
thought
overruled the team, and he realized like I probably shouldn't have overruled you guys. My bad. It should have been a humbling experience. This really, because this was dumb in my opinion. All right.
men being concerned about other men's sexuality, like it's one thing to make an opinion or, oh, I think he's gay. Everybody has a thought, like, oh, if you see somebody doing some feminine shit or you see a girl that looks dressed like a lesbian, oh, she might be a lesbian. But there's no actual negative or positive thought that goes with it. It's just you
Men don't sit here
thinking you're
all the time talk
identifying
about
whatever's
gay
going on.
people.
Having
That's
a
the thing about men.
conversation about somebody's sexuality, though, that's to me, that's gay. If I'm being real with you, like
Yo, and he probably did this for like an hour.
42 minutes it said.
Oh,
For
yeah, 42 minutes.
for 42 minutes they sat down and talked about Obama
Obama, where
potentially
Obama
being
likes
gay.
to put his dick.
Where he,
That's
yeah,
what they
dude,
talked about for
that
42 minutes. Where Obama likes to place his penis. That's what they talked about for 42 minutes. Two grown men, millions of dollars, electric bill being paid, power bill being paid, boom mic. He had to get makeup done. He had to pick his outfit for the day to go there and talk about where Obama places his dick. That's crazy to me, son. That's a meeting. That's a meeting about dick. That's
He
what
had
they
a meeting
said.
about yeah, right? Dude,
yeah.
not only that, they had to send emails and they had
Email.
to
Oh my
prepare the
God.
situation.
You think
It
he
was a
stay in town?
briefing.
You think he stays in town? He had to fly in to talk about that dick. That's crazy.
That's
Oh
the
my
funniest
God. Thank
shit.
you, Ian. Jesus,
All
that's
right,
crazy.
let's get to our comments. Let's close it out. That's enough
Thank
pedophilia
you.
and dick talking.
What
Okay,
does it
Oh
so
say?
man.
last place was Ethan saying, "Okay, I think John's asleep at this point." John was deep reclusive. He did not want to talk about that. He was like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about this."
It was too cringe.
It was definitely too cringe. Miss Chrissy said, "I feel like he is also aware that he has a major issue. I think he wants change, but he's an addict. It's hard to let it go for him." Yeah, and it's weird that as an addict you put yourself in situations to be around what makes you have the addictive tendencies. Like, I'm pretty sure an alcoholic doesn't like going to bars or doesn't put himself around alcohol because he has an addiction problem. So that's my point I was trying to make earlier. It's like, how do you have these tendencies and still put yourself around these temptational tendencies? Like, it causes, in my opinion, justifiable room for alarm and concern. You don't have as much control over it as you claim you do.
I think the
In my
follow-up
opinion.
question to that should have been, how many times have you done that? Like, if he did it once, and I was like, okay, you had a heightened amount of urge, and you actually tempted yourself. Uh, how many times have you done that? And he's just like, oh, I've done it like fucking 5 times a year. Then I'm just like, all right, you have a fucking problem because you're
He
just
had
a
a
ticking time
problem
bomb. But it's
when
just
he
like,
thought he was attracted to kids.
well, yeah, but I mean, like, he has like a very, like, like a different problem at this point. You know what I mean?
Keep it in rap now, huh? Let me tell you something. We all seen the Jeffrey Dahmer Netflix special, correct?
I haven't.
No, I have not.
It started out with spying. Then he worked the courage up to talk to him. Then after talking to him, he worked the courage up to invite him to his crib. And then that's when it started getting messy. So like all of this stuff to me is like, yeah, he's aware, but he's also probably just aware enough, or I would call him smart enough to try and normalize it as much as he can to the point where he feels he could operate in regular society. And with that comes delusion. Sometimes there's reasonable delusion. Athletes have reasonable delusion. I'm the best person on the field. I'm the best person to ever play this game. I'm the strong boxers. Can't nobody beat me. That's positive delusion because it's a self motivating factor thing that you can use to propel yourself. This type of delusion, when it grows, it can't be contained. It's not realistic to think that he didn't, from shape alone or whatever, beard, he didn't seem to be too old. What happens when he's 30 and 40 and 50 and 60? What if he does meet an adult that he falls in love with and has kids? Are his own kids safe?
Oh my gosh.
And the fact that he's actively pursuing situations that will test him is not good. That's like me in a relationship going to a girl's house. Like, oh, let me just go to this girl's house where we just gonna kick it, or we
Netflix
just
and
go
chill. We're going Netflix
no,
and
we just
chill.
going
Just watch
we
some
watching the
Netflix.
game. Watching the game. Like, no, that's not good. Why would I put myself in a situation where I would even jeopardize anything or risk anything like that? It doesn't make sense. Same way it doesn't make sense for a man who knows he likes children to volunteer. That already showed he had loose inhibitions. He cannot control his urges. He can stop them at a certain level, but who's to say one day he doesn't go past it? I'm not saying he should be in jail, but I'm definitely saying they should keep a close watch.
Well,
Yes,
I
he
do
should
agree with that. I'm
register.
just kind of
He should
thinking
register.
like over the longevity of his life. Like if he's only ever done that once,
He
then
should
that's
register.
I don't think so. Like over the longevity of his life, if he tempted himself, which most people are trying to get over any addiction, put themselves at some point in a temptation and then
So we're
resisted.
just calling this an addiction. I'm
No,
not talking about you, Doc. I'm not t-
well,
throwing any shade at you at
what
all.
I'm
The
saying is that
reason
like when people who have something that they're internally combating, as far as like um,
similar
A
to an
demon,
addiction.
a crave.
Yeah, similar to an addiction, like Doc
Yeah,
a
said.
demon.
It's something you're eternally battling. So yeah,
yeah,
Yes,
like
a
yeah,
demon.
yeah. So him doing it only once in his life, I'd be like, damn, dude, you like flew close to the sun. I acknowledge that, but you've only done that once in the past 40 years. Then that's a different argument. You know what I mean? But if he's frequently doing it, then I'm just like, oh, you're just waiting for the chance to let yourself fucking prey on something
I
because
get what
you're
you're saying.
continuously doing it.
Then he
You know what I
should
mean?
still register, but there should be a different registry then, because I get it, because the sex offender registry is if you've literally sex offended. But him identifying that he has that issue also lets need people around need to know that he has that issue, because it's not just a him thing. It's different when your actions don't affect other people or your attractions don't affect other people. It takes two. So the fact that his attraction is to kids is not fair to anybody with any type of kids in their family for him to be around and them not know it in case, because the whole purpose of the registry is this person is in this area. So you're on your P's and Q's. You're more aware. It doesn't delete the person from existence. It just lets you know what's in your vicinity.
But the
You should
registry
know that.
has other issues. Like when you register it, it's not like, oh, thanks for letting us know. Continue with your life. It's like no, the interacts with the person's life. Like I remember I worked a job with a pedophile, and we were building furniture for apartment complexes. Because there were those like fully furnished apartment complexes, so you have to build the furniture en masse. And so we were working, and I remember we would get in the truck to go load it into the fucking the apartment, and he couldn't go to one of the wings. And we were like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, we need an extra hand. Like, come with us." And he's like, "No, I can't go." He's like, "No, no, 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 no. I'm gonna go fucking work on this thing or whatever. I'm gonna ask the boss if I can do this." And then we're like, "What the hell?" And eventually, like, one of our bosses one day came up to us when we were just like chilling, and he was like, the reason why that guy couldn't do it is because he has a radius that he cannot be around schools and stuff like that, and that fucking building was in the radius of the school that was next to the apartment complex. So he would dip out. So like people have to actually consider other things in their lives and they register
What did
something
he
like that.
do?
I don't know.
What did he do?
He actually I think had a serious crime. I think somebody else told me
Okay,
they looked
so
it
he
up.
shouldn't be around kids, and he shouldn't be in the school, and it should affect his job. I'm saying there needs
But
to be
there's a big.
another registry. There
Well,
needs to
see, I
be a
agree with that. But
specific
what I'm telling you, as it is now, has a
Mhm.
pretty serious consequence to
for somebody who's not
it. Yeah.
who hasn't committed the crime yet.
Yeah, as opposed to somebody who's like, help me for myself, you know what I mean? Then at that point, like, you can't
How's he
treat
gonna
them as
help
the
you?
same with somebody who's like, committed a violent crime or rape and something like that.
That means we're talking. We get what you're saying then. So I guess I should use another word. Like I said, there should be another registry for it. But there's no way for us to help you unless you identify yourself.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know. I
think.
won't know where there's fire unless I see smoke first. So I need to know.
Well, that
And
would
that's
create that would back up the argument of the maps thing. Like, what if there was a map registration and then there was a pedophile or registration or whatever? At
Map
that
for
point, like,
maps is crazy.
you realize like, oh, this person has the potential for crime but hasn't committed yet, and this person has committed a crime, and then you can differentiate.
It's like it's like it's like moving out of the neighborhood when black people move in. You know
How?
there's a
yeah.
potential for
Explain that.
crime, right? Well, you know there's a potential for crime. It's how you gonna go down. So let's move before these niggas get here, huh? And by the boatload. Same thing. I need to know. I
I
need to
need to know.
know.
You sound like the
The-
fucking what's the black guy from Dave Chappelle, like his first skit, the one who's blind, he doesn't know he's black.
Bigsby,
Yeah,
like in Bigsby,
yeah,
the black leader of the KKK.
yeah,
That was a whole. I think that's an unmatched skit. I don't think
yeah.
you'll find a funnier skit than that, to be honest with
That was a very big first fucking swing because I think it's in the first episode.
you.
All right, last two comments. Let's close it out. We've already been about like portion, like I think
Yeah, and
hour
I need to
10 minutes,
get weed.
and John's got to go restock himself. So that was all for Miss Chrissy's comment. Thank you, Miss Chrissy. um, Ethan said I would still be in the hood if I were not able to put things behind me. Ethan said zero fuck given about his sexuality. A Free Spirit said sweet. Not sure exactly about what. Ethan said there's a difference between thinking about doing something and
Sweet
actually
free
doing it.
spirit. What was the last comment?
There's a difference between thinking about doing something and actually doing it.
Ethan, we not gonna argue over Minority Report, okay? There's a difference.
Tom Cruise
There's
is
a
coming to get you, bro.
difference. There's a difference between I thought about stealing that pack of gum and I didn't steal it. And I thought about molesting a kid and I didn't do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think in some of these examples, I think we're simplifying pedophilia a little too much, and I
To an
understand,
addiction.
and I do it too. Like, I'm simplifying it too. I acknowledge I'm doing it too. It's just that's why this conversation is so hard, is because the topic has an extremely
Narrow.
destructive outcome if enacted to its full potential. That's why it's so hard to talk about, because we can't look at it with a complete objective lens, because the potentiality of it actually evolving into actionable offenses, it's the reason why the common phrase is wood chipper. Like, it's literally, if you do this, we will actually kill you. Like, just knowing you have the tendency, we're tempted to kill you. But once you do it, no, there's no question, we want to kill you. The sentiment around pedophiles are strong. That's why this conversation is hard to have an empathetic narrative around it, because it's almost universal. It's disgusting towards everybody. With the
Such an
panel,
extreme.
it's an extreme. Yeah, I'm probably describing it horribly, but it's hard to be super objective about this because it's so extreme.
Would you want to live next to? Would you want your next door neighbor to be somebody who works on bombs in his apartment?
Yes, I would, because that means he wouldn't bomb the area.
You
Fingers
nigga
crossed.
working
That's
on bombs and lives next to me. I don't trust that he's gonna do it right every time. Andrew, you may fuck up and it's over. It takes one time. That's not a line you can cross or put your toe on. You cross that line one time, that bomb go off one time, it's
Because
done.
your point is all it takes is one time. Like even if he, like to Doc's example he was trying to say, out of his 40 years of living, he only put himself around kids once. The problem is once is enough. Like he did it one time to entertain to a
He
degree. It
worked
wasn't
his
all
way up to it.
he didn't he exactly he didn't fully jump off into the pool, but he stuck a toe in there. He just wanted to get a little bit, like he stuck the toe in. You stuck the toe in, bro. You shouldn't have done that. You're like, and that's so hard because people, like, where's the line? We haven't just right now, we're technically speaking, what we're arguing is where's the line, and the issue is
Right.
people don't think there's a line. I don't think there's a line. I think you should, like, he shouldn't be around kids. I agree with John also. I don't want him around my family, like that. Like, it's hard having this because that's what we're talking about, the line. It's hard having discussion about the line because it's such an extreme. The fact that he dipped his metaphorical toe in the pond, automatically, in my opinion, the majority of people are gonna have an issue. You shouldn't have done
He
that.
goes
That's a
to
problem.
therapy. If he goes to therapy, works his way through it, and then the therapist gives their professional opinion, several therapists give their fresh professional opinion that he's no longer dealing with that affliction, because that's what I'll call it. Okay, reintegrate into society, have your name removed off whatever thing you need to have removed off of. But bro, you like kids that way, bro. And then we're also like, we're talking about the kids, but we're not talking about the kids. It takes one time to fuck a whole kid's life up, bro. Like, are we gonna play? Well, he didn't do it yet with a kid's life, because that's the other, like. There's no middle.
So
Like, as
Ethan
soon as they
said.
fuck up the kid, they fuck up the kid.
So Ethan said. So you want to punish someone for thought crimes?
No,
Not
he
what we're
has
saying.
actionably done something and put himself in a scenario to where he could commit the crime. And he also spoke on his intentions with children. And that's why I say I'm not going to argue Minority Report, because I know you can't arrest somebody for their thoughts. That's physically impossible. You can't say what anybody else thought. But we didn't have to do that. He told us. He didn't have to tell us. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to go around them kids. So if that's the case, it wouldn't be his I wouldn't punish him for pedophilia, but if he's a known person with sexual urges towards kids and he put himself in that scenario, I'd find they find laws to arrest everybody for everything else, and you get 7 charges for one crime. So you're gonna tell me there's no way possible that we could work out a law or a crime that's punishable? Like, for example, there was a guy at Six Flags taking pictures of a black lady's daughter, and she caught him.
I've seen this.
It should be punishable. He said there is no gray area. Either you do or you don't. I argue that you're making the gray area what he's doing versus arresting or not arresting based on the thought process. The
Yeah,
gray
it's
area is what he's doing. And I'm saying we should allow people to operate in that gray area.
yeah,
The
I
same way I
yeah,
believe the same way I believe cops should have on the cameras so there's no gray area is the same way I believe there shouldn't be a gray area for this. I don't have the solution,
yeah,
but there's something more than, like, I'm not saying he deserves to be in jail, but there's
yeah,
something more than, okay, boom, required therapy. It's like probation, required therapy. He's required to go to a therapist with this affliction at least once a week. If he misses the once a week, he gets a fine. Like, there's something we can do, but just saying until he does it, I don't know
yeah,
about that one, brother. I feel like we leaving a lot.
But that's the
yeah.
issue.
That's
I mean, he kind of even brought
That's
it
not
up
what I'm advocating, though.
where he was
Go ahead.
like that's the core issue. Like, you want to know when these people are around you, but that
Mhm.
requires them to reveal themselves.
yeah, exactly, and that's a problem
But
because like
if what you're saying is like the repercussions for revealing themselves, like if the
they
repercussions are
won't
too
reveal
harsh,
themselves.
they won't reveal themselves. And then
Any harsh repercussions. I said
there's
mandatory
even more
therapy.
of a
You said
person
fine.
coming to the vision of like, well, if I don't reveal myself and I just deal with it on my own, and I actually do deal with it, then nobody was the wiser and nobody knew, and everything
I
is
can get
fine
away
in my
with it.
life. But then
So
that's
when
also
people
hard because that causes repression, and then that
Yes.
eventually boils up into the crime.
Yeah.
So when
So that's the
sociopaths and psychopaths see their therapist and they reveal they have violent urges towards other people, what are the therapists required to do?
they do
Report it.
do that, but at the same time, like a lot of people deal with the issue. Like a lot of people have natural aggression.
No, well, that John's point is we already have a system in place for something we already deem. I don't know if the word is reprehensible, but something that needs to be dealt with if you feel this way, which is like John pointed out, which was psychotic tendencies. If you have psychosis or what's the other one that's needs to be documented? It's not narcissism, but what narcissism can lead to, or the other things associated with narcissism. If you reveal to your therapist you like want to kill somebody or just something violent, I think by law they're required to report it. To answer your question, John, they were required to
Right.
report it.
They are required to report it. So whatever happens with that is whatever happens. That doesn't mean you go to
Well, I feel
jail.
like
I'm
they,
not saying you did it,
I feel like they
but you're
do
required
that
to
though.
report it. Why are you required to report it? Because it affects somebody else. So saying that this isn't the same as that is weird to me. I'm not saying, and he has a good point. Ethan had a good point. I am technically punishing them with a fine by their thoughts, right? But when your thoughts are dangerous to other people, I'm saying they need to go to therapy. If they don't go to therapy, they will be fined. I get that. But if I don't go to probation, I'm gonna get in trouble, right? So if they don't do what they're supposed to do to get better, that means you're actively moving in the wrong direction. And the wrong direction with that frame of thought is what?
Yeah, it's
Everybody's
awful.
okay with
It's
that being a gray area? That's wild to
I
me.
feel like they
I
do
said,
have to report pedophilia though, because if they have to report depression, then they might as well have to report pedophilic like tendencies.
Well, the
My
point is though if they reveal themselves, that's the thing, and
Yeah,
that's
that's
and there
kind of
should
where
be a
I'm getting it. If you make it harsh, they won't come out, and if you make it um too lenient, like maybe they won't feel like it. Like that's the conundrum, you know what I mean? Because you want them to reveal themselves so that it makes society safer and lowers their likelihood of like the issue. But I mean, there's still that thought of like, you know what, maybe I can deal with it on my own, and I just won't say anything. And if I do, then nobody acts weird around me ever
it's
again.
tricky. It's tricky. I don't
I
have a
think
Yeah.
it's
solution, like I said,
we
but
actually had this conversation before the podcast started, Ethan. I think it's the other way around. Pedophilia is not the act; it's more so the attraction slash thought. It's the molestation that's the act. Because pedophilia, pedophilia, it's a noun slash verb or noun slash adjective, not a verb. Molestation is where the action comes into place. So I understand. I'm torn between this because I completely agree with Ethan because I feel weird about thought crime kind of stuff because you're getting into them people policing your thoughts, opinions, and it, like it's a weird slippery slope. The problem though is you're applying this to pedophilia, and it's like, ugh, like is this one of those topics where I'm okay with this? Like, am I okay with thought like them policing thought crimes? I don't know. It's weird because
I think
I
we're
don't know.
talking a little bit more like lawyers than like I get it. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't police somebody's thoughts. I
Yeah.
get it. But somebody is actively voicing. If somebody is actively, and I'm not talking about people who secretly have it in their heart. I'm talking about someone who's actively voicing his opinion. This guy should go to therapy. This
So
man in this interview,
So, for example,
uh,
let me give you an actual example to see if this will help you understand your point or get your point or strengthen your point. So, remember when we talked about maps last time? I used Shoe on Head's tweet as an example because she decided to do some undercover journalism and she infiltrated a Reddit forum or whatever they call them of people who are identified as maps and they were sharing to each other who they're attracted to. Oh, I'm attracted to this type of person. Oh, these are my like instead of pronouns like my attractiveness qualities. Like they got to be this age, this aesthetic, blah blah blah. Like they were like full on engaging in their attractiveness and like blah
yes,
blah blah. So if they're doing that and the FBI agent that happens to stumble across this Reddit forum, because they're doing that, should they then be required to be put on some kind of list? Not the specific one of sex offenders, but this other list that you alluded to earlier. Like, should that then happen? I think you're muted, John.
not yes, yes. They should be required to. The hell? And now you got a community working together. Right? Certain things I get the logic. Certain things you apply logic to.
Well,
There are
hold on.
certain times in the
Okay,
real world where too much logic is just, I don't know, dude. It just takes
it's
everything out of it.
it's oppressive. Too much logic can be
Yes.
oppressive. Um, hold on real quick. Ethan said, so if a person has a thoughts about blowing something up but don't do it, they should also be policed. The problem here, Ethan, is he's saying he
Voice his
wants to blow a
opinion.
place up. He
Yes.
stated, I want to blow a place up. He's not thinking about blowing a place up. He's talking about blowing a place up. Even mentions he's been around a place where he might potentially want to blow things up. So therefore, if in the context of blowing things up, police, FBI, CIA, they pursue this and they probably gather information on you. They do research. They figure out whether or not you're an actual active threat. And I would, I don't know, like, yeah, if you're sitting here openly talking about your pedophilic tendencies, yeah, you're an active threat, and we need to investigate you. Yeah, I don't like thought crimes, no, but if you're have no
If you voice
problem
it at
being
all,
vocal about your attractiveness when it comes to pedophilia, like we gotta investigate you, man. That's wild. Like I don't know. Like even me saying that,
that's a good question.
I don't know.
He
It's
said if a
like
person talks about robbing a bank, should they get forced into therapy or get fined? No, they should be investigated. They should be investigated. And whatever that investigation finds, if that investigation finds they have the blueprints to a bank and AK-47s and black ski masks, then yes. All I'm saying is somebody voices that opinion, it should be looked into. It shouldn't be waited. We shouldn't wait until they touch somebody. We shouldn't wait till they rob a bank. We shouldn't wait till they blow some shit up. It should be investigated, and that's okay. And if part of that investigation sees, oh, this person does have a problem, then there needs to be a solution. I don't have the solution, whether it's therapy, whether it's whatever it is. I'm just using the best tools I know to my knowledge to explain it. But there should be something done. It should be identified because they voiced the opinion. You can
because they
think shit. Ain't
exist.
nobody asked you to talk. What'd you say?
Yeah. No, I was gonna say like to reaffirm what your point is because they exist. Like they're out here. They clearly exist. They clearly got their groups talking amongst each other. They clearly want to do things, put themselves in situations where they're battling temptation. It's like it, I I don't know. Like I understand Ethan's pushback. I really do because
Me
like
too.
I generally understand the pushback. It's just when you're talking about something as extreme as pedophilia, it's very hard to come up with a rational solution that might not be logical to the point of oppressive.
Yeah, but it can also tumble into that, man. What I about right now, where it's just like, let's say they do an act and there is some kind of investigation, and then you accidentally, at a fucking barbecue or some shit, and somebody brings a friend over and they have their kid and they make you laugh and you go, "Damn, I love this kid," and then they're like, "What? You said what?" And then that leads to an investigation of you because by law they're able, like, let's just say the litigation is written for that, but you just meant it like good conscience. You weren't really saying something that had
Okay,
sinister
because
motives or anything like that. Like you can
well,
exploit
we
that
already have
shit.
something like that that exists. It's called Child Protective Services. If something happens at school, if your kid comes in looking malnourished, if anything is wrong with the kid, they'll send CPS to the crib. And I'm not saying they're the best fucking group of
Yeah.
people, but they'll send CPS to your crib or whatever, and they'll do a welfare check. So would okay, I guess for me
It's not
it's
necessarily the welfare check on the child into an investigation because of what you said, which is really what the overall extreme thought crime is that like
and I don't think
you
that
get to
the
a point to where you're
investigation is
walking on
going to be a
eggshells.
public thing. I don't think everybody's going to be posted, hey, this guy's being investigated for this thing. Nobody would know unless
Well,
if it's just an interview, if it's just a question, if it's they send a therapist to see. Like we all have backgrounds too. We all have no sign, no proof of any of this in our histories. Da da da. Da. They have to consider all of those things.
so
They should. But
well, real
I'm
quick,
just saying just doing nothing is not acceptable.
last question to Ethan. I think let's close it out because this is funny to be wrong, but we've already been live for like what almost an hour and a half, and John, we got things to do after this. So real quick, Ethan said, so we need to limit people's freedom of speech and punish thoughts. I I
You can say whatever you
Do
want.
you
You
not
just gotta
think there
deal with the
should be
consequences.
my exact point? So do you
You can
not
say
think there
whatever
should
you
be
want.
consequences? We're not saying they can't say what they want to say. We're not saying, we're not saying they can't say or think what they want to think. I vehemently disagree with it and find it disgusting that they think and say these things, but there are consequences but we have to acknowledge there are consequences. It sounds like, Ethan, what you're advocating for is a consequenceless freedom of speech and a consequenceless thought punishment. When I say consequenceless freedom of speech, I don't mean that we need to have consequence freedom of speech. No, there's an acknowledgement outside of law that if we've talked about this on the podcast before, when it talks about when it comes up between men talking and when a conversation, what the underlying tone of
Like you can
physicality.
do it in
If you
history.
cross that line, we're gonna fight. We know as men we can say what we want, but we acknowledge if you cross the line, we're fighting. So there's consequences. So what we're trying to argue is what should the consequences be? Because if you have pedophilic tendencies, there should be consequences. We're not saying that your thoughts or your freedom of speech should be punished. You can say whatever you want, you can think whatever you want, but once
Well,
you do, you need to accept the consequences of what you say and what you think, depending who you're around. And I argue, and I'm willing to defend, that there should be consequences to people who have no problem voicing and thinking about pedophilic tendencies. And that's,
it
and
should be an
I'm not,
open platform for fucking dude. Right, you can say whatever you want to say, dude. If you get investigated based off what you say, why are you mad?
and that already happens. Like we all know, like what you get investigated over. If I'm on the internet going crazy about how bad I want to shoot up a school, probably me even saying the simple statement of shooting up a school on YouTube Live will cause us to get an FBI agent. And
Boy, if you don't get
like
That's another viewer.
If,
Boost up the
if you think
numbers.
about music, if you think about music, rappers will go and say I shoot, I kill on Wednesday. Da, 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 da. They get tied into a crime that matches the description of what they said. Should they not be investigated? Should they not be allowed to use those words that they put on the song that literally told them how and when they killed the person? They shouldn't be allowed to use it because of freedom of speech. I'm allowed to say whatever, artistic integrity. There's a limit to all of that stuff.
the crossing the
I
line
can't
is the
say I'm
act,
raping.
not crossing the line is the act, not the thought or the speech. You're right. And we're not. What we're trying to say though is once you there's a reaction to everything. Like, we're not going to immediately punish him as if he made the act, but we're going to keep an eye on him. If we're amongst
Correct.
a group of friends and we notice someone's being a little bit disrespectful, a little bit too aggressive, or whatever, that's going to put us all on edge. We're going to keep an eye on this situation. We're not going to treat him or her differently, but we noticed something because they did or said something, and now we're just like, we need to watch this person just in case they do something that might put us all in jeopardy, just to be safe. That's what we're trying to advocate for. We're not saying the consequence is the extreme of a punishment. We're saying, what is the reaction? This person said, I'm attracted to kids. So what's our response to them being attracted to kids? It can't be just ignored until they finally act or don't act on it. It's how do we keep that eye on them? They've vocalized that they have a thoughts and a tendency and an affliction, if you will. So what are we going to do about that? Are we going to keep an eye on it, or are we just going to ignore it and look the other way? We're doing a terrible job, probably, mind you. What we're trying to argue is how do we respond to them acknowledging they have something that I think as an entire human race we find really reprehensible and disgusting.
Horrible.
We're just going to what? Ignore it? I don't think we should ignore it. I don't know
I
what it
think we're
should be
trying to
done.
remove the gray area.
Exactly.
We're
Yeah.
trying to completely remove the gray area. That's it. I don't have the solution, like I said, but I just feel like speaking on certain things should lead to people looking into it. You shouldn't be arrested, but things should be looked into. If you go on YouTube and say you have attraction to kids, they should probably look and see if you're watching child pornography. I don't know. Maybe. And if they do find that you're watching child pornography, which is illegal, then you're punished with a crime. But if you say this thing and then they find out you're not watching, you're not breaking any crimes, okay, that's different. But you should be looked into.
Yeah. I think I understand where Ethan's coming from, and I don't know if we share the same sentiment. It seems like we do based on some
Real
of the things he said
American is
before, which
Richmond.
is which is no, it's the fear of government power. I don't want to give
That's
government
what's
more
up, real
power.
American.
Okay, sure. I don't know if that's real American. I think it's more like
Like
conservative leaning.
protecting the Constitution is what I'm saying. His constitutional rights, like you can't infringe on those. So he doesn't want people to minority report. I get it.
Yeah, it's
But
just more government power because it sounds like what we're talking about, and I completely understand this. It sounds like what we're trying to do is find a way to give government more power to infringe on our daily privacy lives, and I personally am fearful and reluctant of that. But it goes to the Benjamin Franklin. I think it's Benjamin Franklin. That's correct. Which is, if you're willing to sacrifice a certain level of freedom for security, you don't deserve freedom. And I'm not trying to advocate for that. I'm just trying to acknowledge that if people freely let you know something about themselves that is a cause for alarm, I think it's within my right and freedom to keep a very cautious eye on you. And I don't know how I enact that cautious eye, cautious gaze on you in a wider scale when it comes to enforcement, when like law regarding law or government. I generally don't know because it battles with that sentiment, which is I don't like government getting more power. But when it comes to something like this, how do we protect against this? Because it's becoming an issue. Human,
Ethan's point too.
specifically child trafficking has become a huge issue in our modern time. So clearly it's something we need to address. And if someone in this current time has an issue with they're attracted to kids, like, what are we doing? But like I said,
To Ethan's point, it'll end up being like the Salem witch trials or what we did with the communist blacklist. So, I mean, if we give it to the government, they're gonna go OD. So, I agree with that point.
Well,
it's
I
just
think as an individual, like let's say somebody reveals themselves and like they haven't actually committed like or a rapist. I think as an individual, then that's the answer. Like you're wondering like how do I keep an eye on them? But I think that's the answer. Like at that point, you go, okay, I'm gonna keep an eye on you now. I'm not gonna attack you, and I'm not gonna like have the police because you don't want the police to have more power or the government to have more power to enforce something on your behalf because then who knows where they'll go with it. But at that point, then you just kind of create your own protection or your own security system for it. You know what I mean? Because if you attack them outright because you're angry or something like that, then you're the one who's the criminal in the situation.
because
But if
you
you're
did
just
something actionable, yeah.
yeah, but if you're just like, okay, cool, I I I know you have this affliction now, and I'm going to watch out, and I'll deal with the I'll just guide you away from kids, or I'll make sure if I'll never let my kids around you and stuff like that. I'll meet you on one if we need to talk about something. Come out of the house, I'll talk to you here. You can't come into my house. Like this, just like some boundaries I'm setting, and you just go with it that way.
Yeah, it's tough all around because people I think willing to do that are far and fair between, if that's the correct way to phrase that. Like
Yeah, the
it's
stigma definitely is the fear from I would say for many of those people. You know what it sounds like to me that we've been talking about? I know because I have like a my nerdy brain, it just goes to like fantasy and stuff like that. It sounds like we're talking about somebody who's a vampire. Like
Uh,
how do we
yeah.
deal with a fucking person around us who's a vampire? Like do we
because
just
you don't know
fucking
until they bite your neck and suck your
yeah, do
blood.
we just accept it and let their name happen? Not like should we take them out before then? Should we have somebody else do it? Just let them hang out there at night? Like I don't know what the fuck we do.
All right, we're approaching almost the 2 hour mark at this point. We're 15 minutes away from 2 hours, so we're gonna cut it here. Thank you all for tuning
Let's find
in.
that line, Ethan.
Thank you for the pushback, Ethan. That was actually kind of fun and thought provoking. Like it forced us to like try to
Center of
effectively,
thoughts.
yeah, center our thoughts and effectively communicate it. Because I agree with you, Ethan. Like government control, government power. I don't want that grown, but like an issue like this, like there has to be something done. And what it is, we generally don't know. And when it comes to Obama's gay stuff, who the fuck cares? Why this issue? Why this go viral? I thought we were in 2023. Who fucking cares? Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for sharing the video. Thank y'all for commenting. Thank y'all for liking the video. If you haven't done any of those, please do it now. We will see y'all next time on Fake Deep Thinking. Peace.
Peace out, y'all.
Yo, thanks for making it to the end. We really appreciate it and hope you all enjoyed the show.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, and the notification bell to get notified when we post our clips.
Follow us on Twitter at PodcastFDT. Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok are all Fake Deep Thinking. Check us out. Please.
FDT. Peace, y'all.
Peace.